all we want to do is we want to exist, period. We want to exist without being judged. We want to exist without, we want our, we want to just be. And anytime that we're existing and we're being, you know, like I'm just meditating. And I'm just in my own world. And, you know, for me, how I sometimes see white people is like, I'm meditating, and then I got my fellow like other human beings around, my other human family around, right? Whether Black, white, Asian, Indian, Cambodian, right? No matter who it is, we're all in our circle, right? Because that's where I exist within the world, right? And we're all like, And then you have this system of racism, remember? I called it a system of inferiority, right? So we're all in our zen, and then you have racism like, hey, I see you meditating, hey, I see you meditating, hey, 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 and you're just trying to be like, You know what I mean? And so then you have them, because you're not paying attention to them, then they shoot you in your back. So then what happens is now the world is looking and watching, and everybody's like, how are you going to shoot that person who is meditating in their zone and in their zen? Leave them alone. You know what I mean? And so that's just what it is. You know, it's this, and then saying, well, they bothered me. I was scared of them. How are you scared of them when they were minding their business?
Right. Right.
You decided to walk in the yoga room, and then you're afraid of the spirits in the yoga room. Why did you choose to go to yoga if you didn't want to talk about the third eye? If you didn't want to talk about the pineal gland? Why did you even decide to walk inside of, you know, this place of healing? Okay, it's fine, but either A, you step out of the room, or B, if you want to join us, you have to understand these are the rules to this game. And so that's what's being afraid now, right? It's kind of like being on a playground and being a child. So you have this group of people who want to play this game. And so, you know, they're playing this game and they're all playing with each other. And then, you know, then I come up and I'm excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I heard this is a really great game. I really want to play with you guys. And then they're like, no, you can't play with us. And I'm like, but I really want to play. And they're like, no. So I have two options. Am I going to sit there and cry about playing and then recruit other people that they said couldn't play? And then be like, we want to play this game. No, that's not my approach. I don't. Okay. You don't want me to play your game? Cool. Hey, does anybody else around here want to play a game? Okay, let's play. Right? And so what happens is we start playing our game, and they start seeing how much fun we're having. They see we're having so much fun. We're working together. We're making up the rules together. We're having a lot of fun. Then all of a sudden, what happens? They come over target. And they're like, hey, we're coming in here and we're playing with you. But see, they don't ask. So now we're like, we all stop the game and we're like, no. Either A, you ask me to play the game. You ask me to play the game. And B, when you do decide to play the game, guess what? You go by our rules. We don't go by your rules that you were playing over there. You go by our rules if you want to join us in the game. Do you agree? The minute that they say yes is the minute that they have to abide by our rules, and we have to regulate them by and hold them accountable and responsible for their rules of the game, right? And so that's what we're in right now is we're in the midst of, we have to create our own game. And that's it. That's where America is right now. There's so many other people that have created their own games, right? But now you have this younger generation of people from all of these different walks of games that have been played, and they're like, We want to create our own game now. So I say, let's create it. Let's have fun with it. And the people who don't want to participate, just
Let them be.
yeah, let them be.
Yeah.
Like let them do their thing, because they're gonna miss out. They're gonna miss out because we're at such a such an important place in time right now.
Mhm.
And it's such a beautiful, it's such a, oh, I just wish people could see what I see. But it's so difficult, you know, being a visionary, so to speak. It's difficult because nobody can see what you see. They only see what's in front of them,
Right.
right? And but what I see is just this beautiful world. It's, you know, Martin Luther King had a dream, and we're the deja vu of it. And we have to either the the people who understand, you know what I
Right.
mean? And they're actually our security, our, like, you know, like Black people, melanated, you know, they're actually our security guards in the
Mhm.
game to make sure that those people over there don't disrupt our game, which is such a beautiful thing, right? Kathy, is basically you've decided to be a soldier in this and be like, you don't touch them, right? Because the system is set up. One of my friends, she's from Canada, her name's Jordan, and we actually did a podcast on this one time. And she said, the system is not set up to protect you. That's why when I line my white body to protect you and make a chain with my white brothers and sisters to protect you behind me, the police aren't going to touch me, because they're taught to respect me and they're taught to protect me. So whatever I'm protecting, thereby they're forced to protect. So that's the thing, is if we're indeed going to come together, it does take people like you, people like your friends who also look like you, to protect us in the midst of our creation of our game. Because they, as in the people who exist in within the terms of the definition of racism that we talked about before, they aren't going to want to allow us to do that, because they want to remain in power, right? Because
Yep.
narcissism is all about power and making you feel less than. But I don't have to make you feel less than to still have power. The ultimate power is spreading love.
Yep.
Why do you think motivational speaking is such a beautiful art? Because I'm taking something negative and I'm turning it into something positive and loving for you, right? Whereas when you have rhetoric that's negative to incite war or to incite these negative things, it doesn't feel good. It actually hurts the body of the human. It hurts the psyche. It hurts the mind. It hurts everyone around you. So because you're hurting, you want everyone else to hurt. But that's just not how it doesn't have to be that way. And I think even as women, Kathy, like, we are the solution as women, because we raise our sons to be this way. We raise our daughters to be this way. And sure, we can talk about men all day long, but we are the ones who cultivate those seeds of understanding, those seeds of forgiveness, those seeds of help, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't, I
Absolutely.
feel some type of way when I'm asked to choose a side. Even within my own community, I struggle with
Mhm.
it, because I can't choose a side. And I refuse to choose a side because my best friend is white. My other best friend is mixed. My other best friend is, you know what I mean? Like my friend, like, because I always say I have one friend, she's mixed. I've listened to her be told, coming to Black organized meetings, I've heard her be told she's not Black enough to be involved in that
Yeah.
conversation. And then I've seen some of my white friends be told, you know, on the same spectrum, of her being made. She's not white enough. She's not black enough.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
No.
That's not okay. And it's inappropriate. And, you know, for me, it's almost like when people want to talk about homosexuality, I refuse to touch that subject. I'm like, no, because my friends are of this group that you are saying is wrong. And it makes me, I feel constantly conflicted. Like I have to choose, okay, do I choose the black people's side or the white people's side? Okay. But I mean, well, I feel like if I choose this side, then I'm looking like this, because I'm always going to choose to fight for my people. Like, let's not get that twisted. I'm always, I don't even, I'm going to clear that, I'm going to clear that right. I'm going to always choose my people, right?
Right, right.
But that's why I'm back in America, is because I chose my people. So I'm going to always choose my people. But even when it comes to allies, you know, there's a certain discussion where it's like, to what point and how far are they an ally? And I think that's important, that my community decides what Kathy needs to do for us, because if Kathy's fighting for us, Kathy needs to know also what she's fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, when they come to attack, Kathy already is armored and like, I'm ready. Right. You know what I mean? But you can't have, we have too many allies at this point not to be organized. So I do believe, Kathy, you know, we need to stay in discussion and keep in our talks, because yeah, we need to, you know, plan, strategize, and do our thing, because at the end of the day, we're on the exact same mission. You and I, we're on the exact same mission. And if we can create a space where things are defined of roles and how, because essentially what you're asking me, Kathy, is how can I help you?
Pretty much without even asking you. You're absolutely right about that.
How can I be assistance to you? Mm-hmm. But Kathy, see, it's my responsibility to come up with how you can assist me, right? And right. So the problem is, a lot of Black people haven't thought that far, because the system of racism has shown throughout history that people like you don't exist. So now, for the first time in history, we're seeing these diverse crowds of marches. And so now Kathy's like, how may I assist? And now you got these Karens turning into Carolines, and they're like, how can I exist? How can I exist and assist? Mm-hmm. And so I think for the kickback for Black people was like, you have some people who are like, I don't know if we can trust them, right?
Right, no, and fair enough.
Yeah, and then you have some people who are like, yeah, let them in the game, let them come inside the game. And then you have some people who are like, okay, we'll talk about this. You can't I can't let you play the game yet, because we're establishing our game, but I can't let you play the game, but let's talk about this. Let's work together. Because technically through technology, we're already integrated, right?
Right.
You know, like it's the white tech companies that are, you know, that we're using, that are allowing us the opportunity to, you know, be on the certain stage and have our soapboxes. So that's something that even I was talking to Killer Mike, and that was something he said, somebody said, like, you know, forget integration. We don't want to integrate. And it was on an Instagram Live, and he was like, you using this platform is integration. Like, I want you to understand that. And when he hit that point, I was like, yeah, Killer Mike is right. You know, like it's about us deciding who we want to be. And if we can decide who we want to be as a community, because honestly, Kathy, it's less of how, there's two issues here. one, we have the allies. Now, what do we do with them? Right?
Right.
And that's all my responsibility in terms, when I say my, I mean my people, right? That's
Mhm.
my responsibility to come up with. Two, so now we have two jobs. Two, what kind of people do we want to be?
Mhm.
Right? And so that's another thing that we had to, so one of them is domestic. Domestic would be, what kind of people do we want to be? So that's the conversation in my community of
Right.
us deciding, right?
Right.
But then my discussion with you, right, as a diplomat, essentially, basically, is this is what we need from you in order for us to work together. Right. So we have to look at it more, less on emotions and more in a logical plan, right? Because if we use our emotions, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry, because there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of PTSD, generational PTSD. Sometimes when people are crying, I don't feel that they're crying. I feel it's the ancestors crying through them and
Mhm.
screaming through them, right? So we have to be able to detach ourselves, but those are where your leaders are, right? Not
Right.
everyone is a leader. So as a leader, it's going to be our jobs to move this thing forward. And how we do that together is going to be, you know, it's dipping in and out, right? Dipping in and out, dipping in and out. And so, yeah, that's it. That's it. We just have to work together, but I have to know what I want from you first.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it's like I'm your wife, and you're my husband, and you're asking me, baby, what can I do to you, do for you to help you? And you keep bringing me apple pies, and I'm just throwing them at you, and you keep bringing me soup, and I'm throwing them at you, and you're like, baby, what do you want? But it's a I have to see within myself that I don't know what I want,
Right.
right? And so that would be an issue within myself that I have to solve, right? Or if I do know what I want, I have to be able to tell you in such a way where you're able to go give that to me. Because if I'm like, Kathy, I hate you, you're the worst husband in the entire world, Kathy, I hate you. It's not going to motivate you to want to do anything for me. And
No.
then what you are doing for me, in a sense, you feel enslaved now.
Right.
And I'm not here to seek revenge on you. I need to find my solution. If that means I need to go to the doctor and be like, Kathy, give me 3 weeks so I can figure out what I want. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'll be patient with you, right? Versus me yelling and screaming at you because I don't really know what I want. Because narcissism breeds narcissism, right? So because my people have existed in this system of narcissism, racism, the system of inferiority, claiming a false narrative, a false fantasy of superiority, because we existed in that, sometimes our rhetoric becomes narcissistic as well, right? So because it breeds itself
Right.
and it breeds
Right.
itself, but it becomes in the opposite form. So when you can have that pure water that comes in and is like, it's like, whoa, this is what purified water tastes like. Okay, this is great. You know,
Yeah. That's
I feel
awesome.
like I'm just blabbing. I feel like I'm just blabbing. Like,
You're not blabbing. It makes sense though. It's good. It's easy to put it in the terms you're putting it in, and understanding for other people. And so to me, you weren't blabbing. So
thank you. I feel sometimes I feel like that because I feel like, you know, I didn't want to necessarily be where I am in this, but I recognized, because I would have these backdoor talks, you
Mhm.
know, and people are like, what you're saying is so profound. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm just talking. And then I realized, oh, I started watching the news because I don't watch TV, right? I haven't watched TV in 5 years. I'm not influenced by anything except myself. And so I'm like, no, it's just logical, right? Because I come home and I sit in my room by myself and I'm a writer, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm an extrovert outside, but I'm an introvert in the house, which means I'm analyzing situations. I'm thinking of things that, what is the lesson that I'm supposed to learn here, you know? And I don't turn on the TV and just watch, you know, it's equivalent to eating junk food, right? Like, sure, I might not be the thinnest person or the most athletic person in the world on the outside, but mentally, oh, mentally,
Yeah.
I'm you know, I'm a black belt. You know what I mean? I'm here doing, excuse me, I can do capoeira, I can do karate, I can do, you know, all of these different things because I've existed in a realm that's different than here. And it's possible here, you know? And it's just through education. We need to elevate, we need to be. And the tables, Janelle Monáe has a song called Turntables, I think it's what's called. But she's like, the table's about to turn. And in that turning of the tables, it doesn't have to, just because I'm pro-Black doesn't mean I don't like white people, right? I'll give you an example, actually. So we used to have these events, and it was it would be Black only events. And so the events would be like, you had to be from the African diaspora. So meaning you can be from South Africa and be colored, you can be, or considered colored, you can be Black from America, and we all came together in this space. And some people were like, that's racist. I don't understand why you guys would do that. You shouldn't do that. And I'm talking to my friend, and she's Canadian white. And I said, how do you feel about this? You know, just curious. I just want to know. I want to know the honest opinion. And you know, we had another discussion where I said, when they say white people, how do you feel? You know, and she was like, I know y'all not talking about me because I don't act that way. She said, I don't make something applicable to me that's not applicable.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I understand the who, when you say white, I understand who you're talking about. And then another thing was, she was like, and as far as the black event, because I told her, because I was like, she was like, you want to go out Friday evening? I was like, no, I'm going to this event. She was like, oh, what's it about? I was like, oh, it's about this, this, and that. She was like, oh, can I come? You like, you know, let's go together. And I was like, no, you can't come because it's for Black people only. You know, and I felt some type of way just telling her this is for Black people only. And there was this like guilt that used to come across me. And I was like, and she was like, I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I feel very uncomfortable telling you that. And she's like, why? And I was like, because I don't want you to, you know, because at the end of the day, she's my friend,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so I don't, because if she told me she was going to a whites only thing, I'd be like, but that's because of the system that white people set up in their system of racism. So when you yell reverse racism, you know, that's kind of like what it felt like at first. And she said to me like this, I'm telling you, she said to me like this, she said, you shouldn't feel ashamed because this is the first time that your people have gotten the opportunity to be together without the interference of white people. This is the first time that you get to see your African brothers and sisters together, and you guys get to unite without me watching, and you can be comfortable amongst yourselves. And you're reconnecting. She was like, it's like a family reunion. And you don't want other people that aren't in the family to be in it. She was like, you know, she told me, she was like, you always use that analogy about, you know, the Africans giving you up for adoption and you being abused by the American parents, right? She's like, well, now your adoptive parents are basically telling you they want to meet you. And she was like, now, who am I to be in the room during your intimate united. No, that's when I walk out of the room. I let you guys unite. And when you're ready to, be over here, the door's always open. And when she said that, I was just like, that part, it showed me, one, she listens to what I say, and she internalizes my thoughts, right? And two, she understood, you know what I mean? And she understood something that I didn't understand and was conflicted with. And because she's my friend, she's like, no, like, you guys, Africans, Americans, Caribbean, you guys have not been together before in a space. And then when you do get together in a space and say no white people allowed, white people act like it's racist. No, it's you having a family reunion and y'all aren't part of the family, and we need to mentally get ourselves together. And there's so much, I tell you, in that space, there's so much healing that happens. And I think that white America is afraid. See, this is the problem with a narcissist, Kathy. Problem with the narcissist is, while we're getting our healing by being amongst one another, we're getting ourselves, we're really coming into tune with who we are, and we're teaching each other spiritual practices, and we're getting welcomed back into who we are. Well, to the narcissist, we're plotting against him. We can't be together because then they'll want to do to us what we did to them. We're not wired that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we're not plotting and planning against you. We don't care. You're not even a topic of our discussion. And if you are, it's for how can we get our healing? That's what happens in those rooms. We are, it's such a beautiful experience. It reminds me of when I was in China and I would go to the mosque. You wouldn't believe it. They'd have the SWAT team outside of the mosque.
Oh, wow.
How intimidating is that?
That is
right?
intimidating. Yeah.
And so I was like, why is the SWAT team out like across the street? My friend was like, oh, that's normal. And I was like, that is not normal. Like, what do they think we're in here doing? And I had gotten fired from my job after I became Muslim because I was wearing like my hijab, and I was so proud, and I was like, assalamu alaikum, y'all, And they were like, basically I ended up getting fired because they decided that I was a terrorist and a threat to the national security.
Oh my.
And they had a bomb drill and a fire drill.
On you?
Yeah.
Because of you?
Yes.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And the Education Bureau came and agreed, and then I got removed from my position.
Is that how you came back to the United States?
No. That's how I ended up at an international school versus being in public school when I was in China. And when that happened, I was just like,
yeah,
wow, so it was like I faced a discrimination that wasn't about the color of my skin now. Mm-hmm. Now it was about my religious choice. And now they were like, well, can you take it off? And I was like, no. No. And they were like, well, you can't work here. I was like, there's no question for me, because at the end of the day, for the first time, I felt what it was to be Muslim, right? So then I'm like walking in all of these different things where you can attack me, so to speak. But it just goes to show me what you're afraid of, right? So what is it about Islam? And that's actually how I ended up becoming Muslim, because I was like, why does America, okay, so America hates Black people, and they also hate Muslims. I know I'm not a bad person. So if they say that this is bad, then this might be good. Let me explore it. I went to UAE and went to Dubai. Most beautiful experience I ever had in my life. And I ended up, after that, I didn't become Muslim there. After that, I had become Muslim a few months after that, because I was like, somebody lying. somebody doesn't sound right.
Well, you seem very at peace with your self, and you just seem so happy.
Girl, you know what, Kathy? If you knew the things like I was telling someone before, like, you know, coming home, I didn't get the unemployment because I didn't work in the country. So you can only get unemployment if you worked and you got released. But I'm like, you guys asked us who were abroad to come back home. Then we come back home and you don't want to give us checks because we didn't work here.
I didn't even think about that.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
Like, you're like, hurry up, come back to America. All foreigners, because of COVID, if you were in a state of emergency. Can I apply for unemployment? No, because you didn't work here. Well, I could have stayed in China. So I ended up getting like food stamps and like all of these things, but I'm for some reason, yeah, I'm completely at peace and I'm okay. You know, like I'm okay because I know that this is like where I am. I can't speak for anyone else, but where I am is temporary.
Yeah.
And I know that whatever this is happening, it's meant to happen for me because it's me getting the opportunity to watch what's happening around and to position myself in a certain capacity of where I choose to be. Where do I want to be in this situation? Now that I've chosen to stay home, I see there's an issue. They need to see another way.
Right.
The ways that they're coming up with that's not what the world looks like. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's a matter of, okay, if they don't have the vision, well, you've already lived in the reality of the vision. So now it's just a matter of, I'm not making up the vision. I don't have to be a visionary, right? The vision's already there. I just have to bring the reality here.
Right. And that was
It's not even, yeah, it's not even a fantasy. It's
no.
How can I bring the reality that already exists here?
And I have 100% faith that you're going to.
Girl.
You've got to tell me what you need from me.
That part.
Yeah.
That's where the planning and the strategizing and the bouncing back and forth of ideas is involved in, because in order for us to really work together and to make a change,
Mm-hmm.
we have to come up with it. But yeah, we have to come up with it first.
Right.
So that way, you know, you can provide the oil, right? If you have the oil and I don't have the squeaky tire, you know what I mean? Like, okay, where's the squeaky tire? And you're like, Khadija, you told me that you had a squeaky tire and I heard it over here. And now it disappeared. Where's the squeaky tire? But people are so afraid they're hiding the tire from you, Kathy. Because they're like, no, don't tell her about the squeaky tire. And it's like, no, it's okay. Like, she has the oil. Look. You know? So, yeah.
Oh, this has been so enlightening for me because you have taught me a lot. And on top of that, I was struggling personally on how else to help. And so what you said would made perfect sense to me. Perfect sense. And so I am your advocate. I will keep doing what I'm doing. I will keep, improving my voice so that I can keep advocating and I'm fighting for belonging.
Amen. And just existing. You know what I mean? It's existing, just being. Being. And I think we're in the same fight in terms of, right? Because in the background, I think there's a mindset shift that everyone has to make.
Yeah.
It's a consciousness. And I call it a Christ consciousness, right? Because everyone talks about revelations. This is going to happen. Oh my gosh. But because we live in such a physical world, they're not recognizing it might be that the revelation is inside of us, not on the outside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we have, in order to rise into, because like when people say Christ-like, right? What I interpret that as is it's a consciousness, right? It's a way of thinking, it's a way of being, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not Christ, the body, the person, you know, etc. It is the way of thinking, it is the consciousness. And if you choose not to have this kind of consciousness, that's up to you. I'm not going to evangelize you into this because that's not how consciousness works. You have to choose it. I can't force you to think, I can't force you to think into freedom. You have to first choose freedom while you're scared. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You have to choose it and then we can work together. But I can't hand you freedom and be like, here you go. And then you just do it. No, it's a consciousness. So it's here. It takes work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do have one question left for you. And my question is, if you could tell your 18-year-old self anything, what would you tell her and why?
If I could tell my 18-year-old self, I would tell her to keep being her because she is so loved. 18-year-old me was curious. I would tell her about men. We'd have a man talk. That's what we'd have a man talk. I would tell her that she needs not to worry about love, and that a man, just because a man has an Adam's apple, it doesn't make him a man. Just because she didn't have her father doesn't mean that she needs to have that man around, because men show up in different ways.
Yeah.
And I would want her to know that just because you're fatherless doesn't mean you're fatherless.
No.
And so, you know, to thank God every day for being that guidance that allowed you to therefore have the universe serve you in a fatherly way. So I would just tell her to not worry about it and continue to smile and shine on the world like she does, and continue in her perspective no matter how many haters show up or don't show up, but to just keep being her, because she's dope.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that was my white girl right there. Totally.
I love it.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, Kathy White.
Yeah. Could have been like from like growing up in the 80s, the Valley Girl kind of thing.
I love it. I love it. Valley girls need to still exist as long as the Valley girls don't have Karen consciousness.
Yep. Totally true. Totally true. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate it.
You are very welcome. And we will keep doing this so that we can work together and get the word out. And whatever you need from me, just let me know.
That is for me to sit down and really figure this thing out.
No, well, I'm here for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
You are very welcome. Well, have a great night.
You too.